mission launch. It ain't a Friday if there's no roll call Friday, huh?
Nope.
Are the lines up?
Yes, sir.
They look good? That's as expected. We'll talk about it on the way up.
Alright.
That's on. Houston, this is Boston speaking. Mission launch for Roll Call Friday in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Seconds-ish to air. Stand by on streaming. Stand by on Sportsgrid. Stand by on Matt Perrault. Stand by for Roll Call Friday in 5. And roll call. 4, 3, 2, 1. Take.
The Bostonian is Matt Perrault.
This is our city.
The Book is Dave Sharapan.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Together, they are the Bostonian versus the Book.
You covered 12 covered!
Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the Book.
How do you like them apples?
Bringing you the best insight on sports betting news, Matt and Dave's daily picks, and an entertaining and unfiltered dive into the sports betting industry. Here's Dave Sharapan and Matt Perrault.
And here we go.
What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a Friday episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can see us live on our YouTube channel at Boston versus the Book. The same on Twitter and X at Boston versus the Book. We're replayed nationally on Sportsgrid television each and every single night. I appreciate everybody who's been watching on Sportsgrid late night. And I can tell when the show is on Sportsgrid because my DMs start to fill up again with people writing messages about Dave Sharapan. Today is going to be hopefully a day that will bring some smiles, but it's obviously going to be a very difficult day for us. This was Dave's favorite day of the week. Roll Call Friday. I know we don't play all the intros on Sportsgrid, but I just literally fired everything I got in there in terms of every intro we've ever made for Roll Call Friday. I just played them all. that was just all 6 of them that we've played, that Sonic made, that other people have made, Eric made for us leading into this show, which leading this day that really was about you guys in the brigade and calling you guys out. And if you weren't with us last night on our Discord channel, Jessica and the girls came on. We did an hour and a half. It was emotional. It was cathartic. It was beautiful to talk and hear the family talk about Dave, and you guys tell the family what Dave meant to you guys individually. And yes, there is a recording of that. If you missed it, just got to give me a little bit, obviously my shoulder and not being as active as I could be, because with two hands, you can do a lot more than with one. So hopefully I'll get that up on YouTube today and be able to share that with you guys. And I'll post it on social media. I'll post it on our Discord if you missed it yesterday, so you guys can be a part of it. So what are we doing today? Today is going to be a fun day. Today is a chance for the bookmakers, the people that Dave introduced me to. Every single person that has read this has been moved, the family, but it's the people that are going to be joining us today on this show. Chris Andrews of the South Point momentarily, Joe Brennan of Prime momentarily, Jeffrey Benson, Alex Kane. But Butchie the Bookie is probably the one person who hasn't been on this show yet. He was on yesterday, and he's super excited to come on and be a part of the show. So that's our order today, 10, 15 minutes with everybody, letting them just to speak and tell their stories and have conversations. Before we bring on Chris Andrews, in the top left-hand corner, that QR code that you are seeing, that is the GoFundMe for the Sharapan family. So if you have not donated or wanted to donate or haven't had a chance to do so, I'm going to leave that on the screen the entire show. Take your phone out, go ahead and hit the QR code, and that will take you to the GoFundMe for the Sharapan family. I talked about this live already on the show about Chris Andrews, and I'm so happy to be able to do it now here on the show and to tell him directly what it meant to me and the family to see him in the hospital, not once, but trying to go 2 times to go see Dave while he was there. Chris, good to see you. How are you? Thank you for doing this.
Oh, I'm doing great. We have so many great memories of Dave, and like you said early on, it's going to be a little bittersweet on a day like today, but I think let's remember the sweet more than the bitter, because Dave had just so many positive things about him, and I'm honored that you had me on, to share my feelings about Dave. I just, Matt, I'd say, I was telling my wife last night, I says, I'm like about 100 other guys, but more I thought about, it's more like about 1,000 other guys. When I was with Dave, I thought, well, I'm Dave's best friend. And like I said, probably at least 100 guys thought the exact same thing when they met Dave.
Yeah, he looked up to you. I remember when we first started talking about different people to bring on the show, and he was just like, Chris Andrews is one of the OGs. He does it right. He runs the book. He takes bets. People, and as we went through the show, as we went through years of doing it, that became less frequent, people wanting to take bets and people like bookmakers wanting to take action. And he held you in such high regard for that reason. And I think I've told the public this, I've told you this, and I've told the audience this about just you going and spending time with him was so special. The three of us, I'll remember, I'll cherish that day for the rest of my life. That was amazing for the three of us sitting in the hospital room just having a conversation with Dave about football.
Oh, that was beautiful. And it was something I'll remember also for the rest of my life. I went back the second time. I know I texted you afterwards. I could tell he wasn't doing so good. His two of his girls were there, and I spent about maybe an hour with them. I said, well, I don't want to wake Dave up, and I left him a book. I don't know if he ever even opened it or whatever. But I wanted to talk to him again. I'm glad I went the second time too, although I didn't have time to, I didn't have the opportunity to share time with him on a personal level, but I wish I could have. But I'm glad I did the one. Like you said, Matt, it's one of those, we'll remember that hour or whatever it was, a couple hours fondly that we just got to sit and talk a little bit about life, about football, and anything else that came up that day.
You have to tell the story because you told it in the hospital and then you wrote about it, and I need to hear it because it is unbelievable that you saw Dave at 12 years old hit a shot.
Yeah, I did some math, Matt. My math was wrong. It's more like he was 8 or 9.
Oh my gosh.
And, I went back because I left the Civic Arenas in 1979. Well, Dave was born in 70.
Okay.
So he was like 8 or 9. Anyway, I'll tell the story. So, I remember being there. It was hard. So I was an usher at the Civic Arena, and they had Scoro, it was called. They put a board in front of the goal,
and there was a slot like could barely fit the puck through, and nobody ever came close. Now, I mean, they had kids doing it mostly. Nobody ever came close. I remember standing there with one of my fellow ushers, and I see this kid come up, and I can see he's handling the stick, and I remember distinctly telling my friend, "This kid looks like he knows what he's doing." I never dreamt that he was going to make it. Boom, goes right in, nails it. I mean, the crowd goes nuts. I don't know what he won. I can't remember the amount.
I don't think he remembers what he won.
The crowd goes crazy. Like I say, he was 8 or 9 years old, this little kid. Anyway, fast forward 30 years, I guess. Dave and I are working together at the Golden Nugget. And we're talking about, we're from Pittsburgh. I was a big Penguin fan, And Dave, I guess Dave mentioned it. He says, I won that Scoro. You were the one. You were the guy. I was there that day. And like I said, little Davey Sharapan, little did we know that he and I would cross paths 30 years later. And, we laughed about that. But like I said 12 in that post, but the more I thought about it, he was 8 or 9 years old. And like I said, and he had some athletic ability. I know he played some club hockey in college.
Yep.
And, you could see this kid kind of knew what he was. Like I said, we never dreamt he was going to make that shot. It was nearly impossible, but he drained it. He drained it. God bless, from center.
I mean, how does that work?
That ever did it, as far as I know.
I mean, how does that work? Where you guys are working in a book in Las Vegas, you're both from Pittsburgh. You both were, crossing paths in very different ways. I mean, that's just, it's hard to imagine that. Like that is so an incredible story. When you both realized it, like, was it like, what's going on? Like, how'd that happen?
Oh, my face lit up. Like, I mean, I remember it so distinctly. I remember it. Like I said, I remember the conversation with the guy next to me, telling him, this kid looks like he knows what he's doing, and like I said, never dreamt that. But, Matt, when you guys started the show, and I was, again, honored to be on some of your first shows, and I used to bust Dave's chops. I would say, Dave, when are you going to go get a real job? I mean, what do you call him? But again, I thought about this too. He created such a space for himself in this industry. And yeah, he had the knowledge. I mean, there's no question about that. He definitely had the knowledge. He's one of the sharper guys that I've ever dealt with. But it was his personality. It was him. I mean, he probably could have done this in other walks of life as well, although he had the passion, obviously, for sports and for betting. But it was his personality that propelled him to such a consciousness of all of us in this business. And what a great guy he was. I mean, I can't think of anybody that made that impact. I mean, we can go some other guys who've been tremendously successful in this business, but Dave had a unique space and a unique personality. And boy, he's going to be missed. And you could tell all the accolades that have come in, in the last, couple weeks, however long it's been. He was just a well-loved person and deservedly so.
I'll get you generically. What makes somebody a good bookmaker? Because Dave, the uniqueness that I used to say to Dave was, there's personalities all over the media. I mean, it's one of the things that gets you a job in media when you are a big personality. The difference is that Dave understood on a very intricate level what you guys do behind the counter and how you guys operate and what the purpose of a book is and how do you run, maybe it's an old school book now, given the way the world is, but how to bookmake. What makes somebody a good bookmaker and why is it hard to explain it to the public? Because Dave was really good at it.
Yeah, he was good at it, probably a lot better than I will be. But I will tell you, I have people that I've worked with over the years and work with now, and I'm not going to mention her name. I have a young lady working for me now that just gets it, and we've gotten to know each other. And I said, well, did you come like from a bookmaking family or anything? No, she likes sports. But you see, some people get it. And you have to kind of get the math. Now, you don't have to be a math genius or anything like that. I mean, just really probably addition and subtraction is probably all you need to know. But you have to kind of understand, like, and it's not only, the money, but who's betting the money. Like certain guys, they might bet you, a relatively small amount, like maybe 2,000 or 3,000, but you respect that guy. And then the next guy comes in and, we see a lot during the Super Bowl or some big events. My guy might bet you 200,000 or 300,000. And that just happens to be a guy with a lot of money. Maybe he made a lot of money in, computers, or he's a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. But then, like I said, you don't bear that same respect that a guy that has been in this business. And Matt, it's really hard to describe that. And I always say, you kind of either get it or you don't. It's like certain things in life. There's a lot of things in life, but I really kind of only know this. I don't want to pretend like I know anything else. But, when you see it, you know it. Certain guys just kind of have it. And other guys, you could sit there and talk to them all day and explain and work. And I have a guy I worked with for years, and I still don't think he gets it. He's not working for me now, by the way. But some guys, they just don't get it. And it's just the way it goes, so it's one of those intangible things, Matt. I don't know that I really can explain it. Dave, I'm sure, did much better than me. So
yeah,
anyway.
he was amazing with it. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Steeler game, because Dave would want me to ask you about the Steeler game, because it's an early morning start here in Vegas. It's an Ireland game. What do you guys see from a handle perspective on games like this when it's so early in the morning? It's an NFL game, but it's bright and early. And I'm sure from you guys, from a bookmaking perspective, you're probably not in love with the fact that you guys got to get into the office bright and early on Sunday for the Steelers and the Vikings.
Well, first of all, Matt, let me just tell you, executive privilege at my age. I'm 69 years old, so I'll be home when they kick off. But my whole team will be here, and I'm lucky I have a very good crew here at the South Point, so they'll be here. And it actually works well for us because we do a great handle. And of course, I've worked for Michael Gaughan. I started in 1980, and he's always had a 24-hour sports book. So we have a very loyal clientele, among, there's a 24-hour town. We have a very loyal clientele, and always have, with the shift workers in this town. So it really works well for us. This room gets filled, maybe not completely filled at 6:30 kickoff, but you better get your ass in here by 7:30. I can tell you that, if you want to have a seat to watch the game.
Do people stay the entire day when they come in that early? Do they stay all the way through?
You get, Matt, we take attendance. Yeah. And, we give certificates. No, we don't. But yeah, there's a lot of guys. Saturday too. Same thing. I'll see the same guy. He's here for that 9 a.m. kickoff, and, staying all the way to that, what do we got? The late game tomorrow night is BYU in Colorado. They'll be there. And I leave at kickoff. So some of those guys are staying until the end of the game, so who knows?
That's tremendous. Chris, thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming to the hospital. Thank you for what you meant to Dave and your leadership and your guidance through this. I really appreciate it personally from my own standpoint. Thank you for helping me. And you are one of one like Dave. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you. I plan on being at the viewing Sunday and at the funeral on Monday. So I'm sure we'll cross paths again, and just our love for Dave just comes out everywhere. And, I'm certain, like I said, I'm not the only one, although probably have 100 or maybe 1,000 people that feel similar that I do about this brilliant guy. So we're going to miss him.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you soon. It's Chris Andrews of the South Point joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Good to get him on the program again. As we'll do the roundtable here, we'll roll with a variety of guests throughout the entire show here today. And again, in the top left-hand corner is that QR code that is for the GoFundMe for the family. If you have not donated and you would like to, please do so. We're trying to raise as much money for Jess and the girls as we can for them. And there may be other things that we're going to do down the pike from a fundraising standpoint. I don't know exactly what will be on the table at the moment, or what the Sharapan family is interested in doing yet. I think that there's a lot of obviously shock, and there's a lot of emotions rolling through all of this, and I think we're only gonna be dealing with more of it once we come to the viewing on Saturday, the viewing on Sunday, and then the burial on on Monday. So again, just so you guys know, all next week will be on Monday through Friday, the show, but then October the 6th, a week from Monday, that's when we will not have BVB. We will be off to lay Dave to rest, and we will not be on. So that is happening at Palms Northwest Mortuary and Cemetery here in Las Vegas. It is located on North Jones Boulevard, which is about a 20-minute drive from the airport if you are coming in. October the 4th, it'll be a 6-hour visitation from 2 o'clock till 8 o'clock. And then on Sunday, the visitation from 12 noon to 6 p.m. And then the following Monday morning, Pacific time, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for services and 11 to 11:30 for the burial for Dave. So if you are coming in for it, just know that it's not that far for an Uber perspective to get over to go and see that. So I think last night was really cool because I felt like you guys had a chance to do some really cool things with just to talk directly to the family. And I'm looking forward to getting that up. If you missed any part of it, I'm looking forward to having that go up. Joining us, a guy who has been on this show quite a bit and a guy who Dave loved talking to a ton, the one and only Joe Brennan Jr. joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. How are you, sir? Good to do. Thank you for doing this. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. I wish you was under different circumstances. So, but Dave, like talking to me, God, pleasure was all mine with that guy. Unbelievable.
I remember the first time he told me about how influential you were in New Jersey and what you did in the beginning part of it, and going, he saw it from the very get-go. Like Joe Brennan Jr., when we write the book, he's like, when I write the book about sports gambling, I write the book about the history of sports gambling. Joe Brennan Jr. is a gigantic figure in all of this. I'm not sure I know this story. When did you and Dave meet? When's the first time you met Dave?
God, I can't even remember. It was so long ago.
Right.
I remember, it was funny. So I remember it wasn't long after I really got started. Like I got started in earnest on New Jersey, like November 2008. And right before it all got public, I kind of did a tour of Vegas. Like a couple of guys are like, hey, you know what, like, why don't we connect you with some of the folks in Vegas, like the Art Man Terraces of the world, and like go to all the corporate bookmakers, and like, why don't you go around and talk to them and get their take on this. Like Jimmy Vaccaro, a great example is like, so in one afternoon I sat down with Art Manteris and Jimmy Vaccaro, separate meetings. So I met Art up at Red Rock, and he's in his office, and here he is. He's like the number one corporate bookmaker in Nevada at the time. And, he's very, you gotta be, they say, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. It's like, yeah, well, also beware of Greeks who aren't talking. If they're just listening, you're really in trouble. So Art listened to, everything I had to say. And then he was very genial. And he said, like, you know what? I really hope that you're successful. I wish you nothing but the best. It sounds like you're really onto something, but you got a big job ahead of you, and good luck, and keep me in the loop. And if I can ever be of help, let me know. And so you notice that nowhere in there did Art say like, you're going to kill it, kid. You're totally going to be successful. Right. Well, then, I went down and I met Jimmy, and, I'm in the coffee shop with Jimmy, and I laid out the same thing, and, and then I got to the end of it, and Jimmy looked at me. He's like, well, that isn't going to happen in my lifetime. Oh my God. What are you doing, kid? You haven't got a chance. So I think both guys were maybe saying the same thing at the same time to me. It's just Art does a much better job of packaging it.
Politicking it, being more polite.
But the funny thing is, like, both guys couldn't have been more supportive. And it was around that time that I first met Dave. And Dave was one of those guys who he was enthusiastic for this stuff from the get-go. But I mean, Dave, enthusiastic. There was an infrequent occurrence, right?
Right.
The guy was a force in nature. And that's why, obviously you mourn everybody who passes, but there's some people who are just exemplars. And for our industry, like Dave is there with like a handful of people who really represented the best of our industry.
I think what I learned from him, and he used to tell me all the time about a need for, he's like, men need to be around men. He's like, guys need to be around guys. He's like, he's like, the book is just a place.
Said the girl dad of 3,
right?
Right.
Well, right. Get him out of it. Right. Exactly. Right. He's at the Ocean of Estrogen, I used to call it in his house. He had to get out and get around guys. But it was always interesting to hear him talk about that, just because I felt like I'd never heard anybody kind of phrase it like that, about the need. He's like, there's just a need to go to the book, to be around guys and let a dude be a dude. So it's just like, that's a really true.
For some people, it's the golf club, right?
Yeah.
Some people, it's like the private club and you're going, sitting there smoking cigars, whatever it may be. And for another, segment of society, it's the sports book. I will say that, legalization, I think, has overall been really good. But one of the things that even I recognize, and I'm one of the authors of this, so, is that it's kind of diminished.
No, it's killed it. Let's be honest. It's
easy. Whoa. Like, don't say that to Derek Stevens or the guys at South Point. Like,
Vegas is immune. Vegas is immune to this.
There you go.
Because I'm talking about the country. When I go into sports books, when I go into New Hampshire, and there's a brand new sports book that just opened up there, brand new casino just opened up there, and I walk in, and no one's watching the game, no one's paying attention. If they're there, they're just hanging out doing something else. It's different.
To their defense, that's never been part of the culture, right? Like the rest of the country outside of Nevada, sports betting has been a sub rosa economy, and you were betting. A lot of it was face to face. Talk about booking the faces, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or on the phone, calling your bookie, or like Paperheads, or like
calling David Carousel.
Yeah. You can kind of understand, because it's never really been part of the culture. But with Vegas, with Reno, but especially Vegas. I mean, especially when I was younger. Like when I would come into town, and then I would just go and I would just sit in sports books, just sitting in the sports book at the Mirage.
People watching.
And not necessarily people watching. It's like, you just like take it all in. You're like, oh my God. It's like, first of all, I can't do this openly anywhere else in the country. Right. So there's a kind of, like outlaw quality to it as well, but it's so big. And I mean, I would go first thing in the morning, because I would still be on East Coast time, right? So I'd be in the sports book at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And I would be picking out every sheet, every parlay sheet, every, pro football, like all of them. I'd have all the sheets out. I'm sure I look like a total tourist. I'd find like the copy of Gambling Today, that they were giving out for free, that stuff, or like the Doc Sports book that they always had. I mean, I love that shit, because it wasn't available where we were at, and just sitting there, almost like church, like it was like being in church before a service, which I'm sure is going to further grease the rails for me on my way to hell, say, making that kind of comparison. But that, that is, that's part of the culture there. And, to have no less a person than Roxy Roxborough and his comments about that. I mean, to me, Roxy's like the Thomas Jefferson of our industry, and what he said about Dave, and Dave is part of, a culture, a thing that is fading. Now, I'm not as, sanguine about it as maybe Roxy is, because, again, Roxy's experience was largely Vegas and Reno. Like the rest of the country didn't know it, but boy, I really wish the rest of the country would take advantage of it, between Circa and the Superbook at Westgate and our buddies down there at South Point. I mean, it's still there. You can still enjoy it. I mean, there's except for being in the stands at a game, at a big game, there's no better place to watch it than in a sports book. I'm convinced.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I do.
And Dave is so much a part of that. And I mean, the next time I walk into Circa, it's just, I'm sure I can't help but feel like it's going to be a little less because he's not going to be around.
Yeah, Jeffrey Benson's coming on behind you, and I can't wait to talk to him about that point, because I used to laugh because Dave, if you go to Circa, you give them your ID and they scan your ID and you go in. They track the number of times that you come in, and Dave would ask all the time, "How many times have I been here? How many times?" Because he used to laugh about the numbers. By like the middle of the year, it was like 300 times that he had come in and out of the doors. Like, it was insane. I think one year was like 700 times he had been to Circa in 1 year.
Now Dave really missed an opportunity. Like, whoever he was walking in the building with, there should have been some totals wagering before they told him the number, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not surprised, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the number of photographs. Here's the thing. The number of photographs that people have like posted of themselves with Dave since he passed, and where are they? It's like you've got the Circa mega board like behind him. The number of pictures, like right now, I think Derek should probably sign an advertising agreement in perpetuity with Dave's family because of the number of photographs. I mean, he's there so much. He was practically part of the furniture. I'm sure there's some people who are surprised. Wait, he didn't work there?
Yeah, true. No, that's true. I mean, he loved when we started the proxy service, and it just meant he was going to spend even more time in Circa. Like, it was awesome because he could tell Jessica, "I have to go work." Like, he couldn't, like, it was like, "Sorry, I got to go work." And so we would go and sit.
Excuse, huh? Oh, sorry.
We would sit.
I mean, I have to go sit in Circa for 8 hours today and talk to people, proxy service. I mean, come on, got to make that buck.
We would just sit there, and Benson gave us the top left-hand corner booth. So we would just sit there and we would just watch games, and we'd sign people up, and we'd be there for a reason. But like, it was more like just him and I watching baseball in the summer in the book, where it wasn't the busiest because it's the summer. So it's not like a football Saturday or something, but it was still super fun just to watch baseball and watch different games and talk and just hang out and just be there. And like, he wanted to hang, and he wanted to be a part of that community so much. And then the outfits, the hats, he's just like a beacon. People saw him and you're like, "You're the Consig, right?" And just the number of people that walked over that said that to him when we were either walking through Circa or walking through a different book. And it was always, "Meet me at the book." That was always his line, "Meet me at the book."
Right.
And by the time we got there, he'd already talked to 3 or 4 people before we even got to where we were going. People just would stop him and ask him. Random strangers would be like, "Are you the guy from Twitter?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I love your story time for the book." And that was always a huge thing for him, was when people would recognize. And that's why he got him going. I mean, in the beginning, he wasn't as crazy with the outfits, but then as we progressed, they got louder and louder and louder.
Yeah, you got an image to uphold, right? Someday I'm sure there's a couple of days where you probably just thought, like, I just kind of want to let this stuff blow in the wind, and maybe just a golf t-shirt, or just a college t-shirt for one of his girls' colleges. But you know what, guy, he
used to tell me that he didn't want to be seen. Like, how women don't like to be seen with the same outfit twice. He used to tell me that he didn't want to be seen with the same outfit twice. He's like, "Well, I've already worn that."
I guess it's good that he's not here for me to tell him how girly that sounds. Jeez, But I'll say this. Well, yeah. I mean, as somebody who like my son abandoned me. He's out in Chicago now, so it's just me, my wife, my 2 daughters, 2 female dogs, and 2 female cats. Talk about swimming in estrogen. Jeez, I probably have to take estrogen blockers to get my own levels down at this point. But no. Oh, geez, I'm choking on it. Choking on my estrogen. It's so high. But no, if you can make an argument that right now that the, Circa Sportsbook there is kind of like the cathedral of sports betting, right?
Great.
But if it is, then, I would definitely say that Dave's presence in there might have made him a bit of the pastor. Because he just was such a visible presence there. And if you didn't see him, you certainly heard him, didn't you now?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
That guy only had 1 volume, and it was 11. So, but That's why the great thing is, and I said this during our show the other day, I mean, talk about a sad occurrence. Like, so we did, like, myself and Adam Bjorn, who's also been a guest here with you and with
Weekly,
Dave multiple times in the past. We did our 100th show, and unfortunately we had to open it with Dave's passing. Like, for a couple of weeks, our producers are saying, like, oh, what should we do during the show and everything like that, and greatest moments and everything like that. So for the thing about our show to be about Dave's passing, it was just so sad. But what I said is that there's a lot of people talking about our industry. There's a lot of people talking about sports betting right now in America. God, I mean, you can't turn on a broadcast, a pregame, ESPN, Fox Sports, anywhere right now, and not have people just like meh about sports betting. And they don't do it well. And you have a lot of people trying to make themselves into personalities and everything like that. All these guys, I won't say what I really think of them, but people on TikTok and Instagram and everything like that. But Dave is one of the few, very few legitimate big personalities out there who really could, talk the talk because he walked the walk. The guy knew this industry on both sides of the counter. And, when he talked about betting, he talked about it from a place of absolute expertise and mastery. And I think that's why, you see that. I mean, you had the guys on ESPN, Pat McAfee, everything, when I started seeing those guys paying homage to him, I was like, wow, because sometimes we see our industry and we're like, it really seems like still kind of a small industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the numbers are getting bigger, the brands are getting bigger, but the industry is still kind of small. And to see, somebody pass well before what should have been his time, I think the industry has been robbed from what it desperately needs, which is people who can legitimately talk about this activity in not only an expert way, but also in a very entertaining way. And a guy who really knew how to connect with people, whether they were like the sharpest of the sharp bettors or the squarest of the square guys, And I mean, it's terrible that, we've got that conference, the G2E conference coming up. Bet Bash in August already felt lesser by the fact that he was not there, but going now and Dave is not there. I mean, it's just, for me personally, Vegas is going to seem just a little less than it has in past years. And I'm really going to miss him.
Yeah. Amen to that. Joe, thank you for the time, for coming on. I really appreciate it. You are someone, and everybody who is coming on here, I would not have met without Dave. And so I will always thank him for connecting me with you and connecting me with everybody who's going to come on the show, because I learned a ton from you, and I loved our conversations with Dave on the show, and he loved talking sports with you. He loved talking life with you. So thank you for this time. I'm sure we'll talk again down the road. But
absolutely. I mean, because if there's the one thing to what you said, like, he connected us, and now we can spend a bit of our time every time we're together, every time we talk, trading our best Dave stories. So I'm thankful for that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time. Be well.
All right. You take care.
It's Joe Brennan Jr. We go from Joe Brennan Jr. We'll go to where we were talking, Circa Sports. Let's go and talk. Oh, no. It happened again. Wait, this happened last time with Benson, right? Where we couldn't get him on, where he was on and he wasn't. Hold on. We'll pull this down and we'll go back up. There we go. We got it this time. Jeffrey Benson. We go to Circa
How are
Sports.
you, sir?
I'm okay. Thank you for asking. It's been a week. It's been a week, but we were just talking to Joe about Circa and Dave's presence. You know this, but he loved your building, your operation. He loved talking with you as much as anyone that I'd ever seen him talk to. What? My first question, I guess, to you is: is it crazy to say that Dave's not going to be a part of football season at Circa, because he was down there literally every day?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's it's really sad, but I think he's in a better place, and he left an indelible mark on everybody here at Circa Sports, and certainly everybody within the industry. I think you could You could spot him a mile away when he was coming down the escalator into the book, whether it was bright burnt orange or whatever shade of color he had. I always joked with him because I'm usually in black or whatever. That I had no colors of the palette that he was wearing in my closet, so we always had a good laugh over that. But yeah, I mean, he was a huge part of our Circa sports family here, and it's really sad that a legend and somebody who had such a huge impact on the industry, at large is gone so early. I mean, I know a lot of the people who worked here, whether that was, Linda, who had her own cancer battle, Anthony and Shane and, a lot of the guys who used to work with Dave. It's funny because, it's seemingly such a big industry, but it's also such a small industry in the sense that, a lot of people work with each other and know each other and, have spent time in the same risk room or the same sports books and things like that. So, he was a huge part of, what we were doing and what we were building. And obviously, the stuff you guys were doing with, proxying for the contest and things like that, we certainly spent, a large amount of hours together. That's for sure.
He loved to try to get young people jobs. Whenever you guys had an opening for ticket writers, he would either get a phone call for somebody or he would call for somebody and have conversations. I think as an ambassador for the space, your space, the ticket writer going into the sport betting community, I mean, I feel like it's a huge loss. Someone that was such a great advocate for being a worker who could work their way up from a ticket writer up to a different part of the sports betting industry. I feel like that's been like an underreported, under talked about side of what Dave would do. Is how many times did he call you about people who wanted jobs or, who might maybe helping people get jobs with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot. I think he pushed, quite a few quality candidates our way. And, he was somebody who he had so much experience in so many different facets of the sports book, whether that was front of house stuff, being in charge of the ticket writers, ticket writing stuff, the media and content side of things in terms of what he was doing, with you, Radio Row, podcasts, obviously the, he was great on the documentary.
Love that.
The quest for 9.2 and the quest for, 14.2. He did such a great job of, highlighting things. And, he was just such a character. And obviously he spent a lot of time in risk rooms and he was a great bookmaker. And obviously, he knew the numbers inside and out and, was a better at some points as well. So he's just so well versed in, every aspect of the sportsbook industry. And I think, he connected with everybody, both, young, middle-aged and old. And I think, he was certainly able to, push a lot of people, particularly those that were young, and give a lot of good, sage advice. When people asked him, how do I get in the industry? What is the industry about? Where do I start and what can I look forward to? He did everything in his, short time on this earth. And, he did a hell of a job, in every single, stop along the way. And, I think as the industry continued to grow, there were a lot of young people, certainly impressionable and, didn't really understand, what the industry was all about or, how you got in it or things like that. And I think, Dave was able to, put his, helping hand on them and kind of guide them with, all of his wisdom in terms of, pointing people in the right direction. So, yeah, it's certainly something that, just the experience he brings and the conversations that he was having. And, he was just so affable, I think.
Well,
you're not going to find anybody who says a bad word about him.
No, I mean, him and I would have these conversations. So I've yet been, I can't, unfortunately I haven't, because I haven't been able to talk to anybody about this. So I can talk to you about this. We just had the first quote unquote kind of Armageddon weekend with Circa Survivor, but what it was like for the first 2 weeks for you guys, where basically everybody advanced. Was there like a moment we're going like, wait a minute, we got 18,000 entries and like we got 18,000 entries left going into week number 3. Now I know 3,000 went down, but a lot of entries left, Jeff, going into week 4 of the NFL.
Yeah, man, like last year going and after week 3, I think we were at like, 97% of the entries were eliminated. This year, maybe we were going into week 3, we were at like 3% of the entries eliminated. So, obviously, certainly, different years to start. I think, you'll have plenty of variance and plenty of upsets as you continue to, work your way through. There's inevitably, weeks and or months where you just don't have a lot of favorites lose. And, those are certainly the weeks and the months that, the sports books get beat up. But, as Dave would say, nobody's really crying for the bookmaker. And, I would tell him, the lights will come on Monday morning. And, he would tell me nobody knows shit. But, yeah, I mean, it's the first couple of weeks, like I said, not a lot of eliminations. And, I made the comment, if you had gotten eliminated week 1 or 2, you should be ashamed of yourself. But obviously, certainly a few more upsets week 3. The Buccaneers certainly could have added to that total as well. A lot of wild endings, particularly in the early slate of games. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how this week kind of pans out. I think, you're going to have, maybe half the field or more, pencil in their free square on the Bills. And it's kind of up to everybody else to figure out. So, that's the fun and beauty of Circa Survivor. I know he, loved talking about it and, loved being a part of it. And, it's something that certainly brings the whole community together, which is why the contest is so fun. And it's such a great thing to be a part of.
How many of the Grandissimo 100,000 entries are gone? How many of you guys lost? Any of them?
Yeah, we started with 69. There was one person, I believe, who lost on Pittsburgh week 2.
Yeah.
Versus it
was a Jet. Week 1 they beat, and then Steelers. I forget who they played before the Patriots.
Yeah. They lost to the Raiders, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I can't remember, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Pittsburgh is 2-1.
Too many games. Whatever it was. One person who got eliminated with Pittsburgh week 2. And then last week we had 10 people eliminated.
Oh, Seattle. Yeah. Thank you guys. The chat got it for us. Seattle.
Yeah, there was 8 people who had the Packers and then 2 people who had the Falcons. So 10 people eliminated last week. So 11 people total, 69 down to 58 entries.
How deep into the season does that go in your mind? Do we hit Halloween?
I think there's a chance that we could probably make it to Thanksgiving. I think, it's good. I think it definitely plays different than Circa Survivor. I think people certainly aren't as aggressive, and you don't have to be given, the much, much smaller number of entries. So the game theory behind, how you play Grandissimo versus Circa Survivor certainly differs. But I would definitely say there's a world that we get into some point in November, and I wouldn't be surprised that if it hits Thanksgiving. I don't think it goes, obviously, the full 20 weeks, and I don't think it hits Christmas, but I wouldn't be surprised if we went, 12 to 14 weeks.
Interesting. I think Survivor is going to be so fun because you have so many entries, but it feels like the later we go into the year, it feels like Thanksgiving and Christmas, the Black Friday, the Thursday, Friday week, and then the Christmas week could really be a havoc week, just given how many teams are going to have to be kept in because the Chiefs were always there, and you're like, oh, I'm going to hold the Chiefs coming up for the Christmas Day game. Well, you can't really do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas is obviously tougher than Thanksgiving. I think when you look at Thanksgiving, Black Friday, you're probably lining up to take the Chiefs versus the Cowboys, or the Ravens at home against the Joe Burrow-less Bengals, right, and Philadelphia Eagles versus the Chicago Bears at home. So I think you have 3 relatively good choices to choose from on Thanksgiving. Christmas is going to be a little bit more difficult, but nobody thought the Packers were going to lose at home to the Packers. We're
Browns.
we're going to lose to the Browns. So, anything can happen in this league. And like I said, that's the beauty of the contest. And, look at the Bengals. I mean, they lost Joe Burrow. I mean, Jaden Daniels isn't playing this week. JJ McCarthy is out. I mean, there's a lot of quarterback injuries. You have a quarterback for a team you pencil in go down. That can change the way you game plan, or a team may not be as good as you thought, or what you factored as a 7-point spread is now only a 3-point spread. So things can change very quickly in this contest. There's an element of surviving and advancing, and there's certainly an element of planning for the the last 5 weeks of the season and the holiday week. So there's just so much nuance in it. It's part art, part science, and a lot of it's figuring out kind of what the other contestants are going to do, and how you can be different and ultimately gain the most EV. So it's as you get deeper into the contest, it certainly becomes all consuming.
Are you a believer in the Colts? Are you on the Danny Dimes bandwagon, or are you not believing this start?
I'm sitting here in the office, and I'm sitting next to my operations manager, and he has a horseshoe that's tattooed on his calf. So I'm not a believer in the Colts, but I would tell you that he is. So they're good. Danny Dimes looks like the second coming of Christ. I want to see 3 more weeks of it before we crown these guys the champions of the AFC.
It really is interesting because it just shows you how the NFL. I mean, through 3 weeks, Daniel Jones is the number 1 quarterback on paper.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, if you think about last year, the New Orleans Saints started off 2-0. They just battered their opponents by like 30 or 40 points. Looked like the class of the NFC, and then all of their players got hurt, and they took a complete nosedive. In week 3, I believe they were at home, but they were favored by 2.5 points over the what would become the Super Bowl champion Eagles. So it's funny to look back and think that last year at one point the Eagles were 2.5 point underdogs against the New Orleans Saints, and then obviously you look what the line is this week, and New Orleans is catching almost more than 2 touchdowns. So it's funny how things change. Things can change very quickly. I think early in the season there's a lot of variance. We don't know exactly how good teams are, and once you get 10, 11, 12 weeks into the season, I think you're able to see more of a body of work to kind of understand, who the contenders are and who the pretenders are. So, are the Colts going to be good? I don't know. I think Shane Steichen's a great coach. How good Daniel Jones has looked is certainly an indictment on maybe how bad Anthony Richardson is. But, I think, like I said, they're a well-coached team. I think Daniel Jones certainly raises their floor. I don't necessarily know what he does to their ceiling, but they're in a pretty soft division. I don't think Tennessee, Houston, and Jacksonville are world beaters, so they can certainly win a division and get a home game. But I think they're certainly the 5th or 6th best team in the AFC. I think there's probably 4 or 5 teams that are better than them from a power rankings perspective.
We'll get you out of here on this. Bigger handle for you guys: Packers, Cowboys, or Ravens, Chiefs on Sunday?
That's a great question. I would say the Sunday night football game, just the standalone games, and obviously you're going to have Cowboys, Packers, 2 teams that have rabid betting fan bases. So I would go with Sunday night football, although the Ravens, Chiefs, and kind of the polarizing opinions there. The Ravens are the best team in the league. They just haven't played good defensively. And then you look at the other side, and it's like, Worthy's back. Mahomes is a home dog. How can they go 1-3? I think there's a lot of narratives in play there. And so both games are going to be heavily bet. Both games will have, a lot of opinions. I think you'll get better 2-way on the Ravens Chiefs than you do on the Cowboy Packer game. I'd imagine everybody outside of illegal bookies in Texas are going to need the Cowboys for their lungs come Sunday Night Football. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and I'm sure there'll be some survivor implications on that as well.
Jeff, you know this, but I'll just say it publicly. Circa Sports has been an incredible supporter of this show, of what Dave and I were looking to build, and he loved everything about what Derek Stevens, you, the entire crew, the amount of time he spent down there at Circa was because of, his overall affinity, respect, and love of everything that Circa represented from a book perspective. And I don't know what it's going to be like for me the next time I walk into Circa and not know that Dave is going to be meeting me there, because I mean, the vast majority of times when we met, it was, I'll see you at Circa in 30 minutes, and we would go down. So thank you to Derek. Thank you to you. He loved following you on Twitter. I can't tell you how many late night conversations we had about your Twitter account and how funny it was. Just the things the inside jokes, the inside school references that you would make that not everybody fully understood what you were saying. He really did love you and loved everything about what you guys did. So thank you for doing this, and thank you to what Circa has represented and what the whole operation has meant to us.
Absolutely. Like I said, he'll continue to live on in our hearts moving forward. Much like Linda and much like Linda did. And like I said, he'll have a lasting impact on everybody he crossed paths with.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Absolutely.
Jeffrey Benson from Circa Sports joining us here on the Bostonian versus the book. As soon as Alex is here, once Alex Alex is here. There we go. We can put Alex Kane directly on. How are you, sir? Thank you for doing this.
Been better, brother. How you doing?
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that question, because I think publicly I'm okay. I think in terms of hosting and doing the things I do, generally I'm a routine person. So when I'm in my routine, I think I'm okay. I think once you get me alone by myself, I'm kind of a puddle and I'm kind of a mess. I just, every once in a while, I just go ahead and just something crosses that I'm not ready for, and I just sort of fall apart. So I'm good, but I feel like there's a wave of emotion that's about to hit me that's going to make it, the next couple of weeks going to be pretty hard.
Yeah, I totally. I mean, one thing I do want to say to the public, and this isn't about Matt. I don't want to make this about Matt, but I think a couple of us really understood how much the relationship obviously meant to you, but the things that you did that now no one, that I'm sharing with the group, that I think no one knew about, of how much you were there for Dave and his family post the diagnosis and really post the operation. And so like what that means to me, and like just catching up with you as you were trying to catch your breath at Bet Bash at Saginaw's and trying to tell me every single thing that was happening, how much you were there for him, and the relationship that you had, kind of unique to anyone else. Like no one had the relationship that you had, and what that was like for you. I want to tell you like how much that means, and I hope people understand 1/100th of really how much you were there for Dave off air.
Thank you.
It's like I try to think about the best way to do that, whether that was through a tweet, and I think just sharing that now. I do have something. So when I was in high school, I used to wear the flat brim hats all the time, and I thought I had a pretty good game. And I'm actually back home at my parents' for the weekend, and I was just digging through the closet, and I think I'd given most of them away. But in honor of Dave, I will be wearing one of these for the rest of the show. So we have this.
Look at that. It's a Raptor. He loved those old school Raptors. He loved it. That's awesome.
All the old school stuff. I've got the LA Kings, the hockey.
Wow.
But I think the one he would have really liked, which I'm going to wear for this show.
Oh, yeah.
I just tried it on, and that's why there's a red streak across my head, because it's a little tight now since I last.
Is it fitted?
It's not a fitted. It's,
okay.
Mitchell and Ness, whatever. But I think
there we go.
It's
that's his brand, Mitchell and Ness. That's his brand.
Oh yeah, no, and he was the guy, and now for the rest of my life, when I look at these, I think of Dave. When 100%. When I see a guy that guy thinks he knows has a good wardrobe, it's not even close. And so maybe there's something we can do there in terms of showing the world just how expansive that wardrobe was. So here we go. I'm going to look like an idiot. I don't give a
Look
shit.
at you. That's tremendous.
So,
That's awesome.
In honor of Dave, maybe I'll bring these out once again to wear. Of course, my girlfriend can't be around. If she sees me, she's gonna be like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm gonna say it's a long story.
It's a long story.
But now for the rest of the time, when I see people think they have game and they have a nice fitted hat, it doesn't even come close. I mean, he always had the outfit, and not even that. Like he even had the Joe Burrow sunglasses. Like he had everything.
Well, the listening glasses was one of the funniest things, right? With like whenever I would get on a rant, and he would go, "Hold on, I got to put he put the listening glasses on," and it was, I think one of the things that worked, and one of the things that you can't know until you start working with somebody, is that like we meshed really well about what I did well on the show is not what he did well, and vice versa. And so we were able to, when it was time to be angry and something was pissing us off and it was wrong, then I would go. When it was time to have a good time and laugh and joke around and be lighthearted, that was him, because that's not me. And so like we just were, that's what people always forgot, or at least didn't realize with the two of us in terms of how we would talk, because I'm a lot nicer personally when you get to know me than I am professionally. Like I'm a guy that I think most people would find to be caring and soft and nice, but on the air, I'm an asshole. I'm like, just what I am. It's fine. Off air, Dave is an asshole. Like Dave straight up, when you pissed him off, when you did something wrong to Dave, Dave was as ruthless as anybody could possibly be. But on the air, Dave was this amazing personality and huge and so lovable and likable that like we fit so well to each other and had these conversations. And I remember when he came back from Philadelphia, when he bumped into you, and how excited he was that he saw you just randomly. He's like, I saw Alex Kane on the street in Philadelphia.
Literally on the street. Yep.
I turned around and there was Alex. And I just said, this is the universe telling us we need to do something with Sporttrade. We have to find a way to make this happen. And so he loved what your business is and could be in the future for Sporttrade. He had such an amazing amount of respect for you guys. And when we turn down money all the time from people, like he's like, I don't want to be associated with them. I don't want to be associated with them. And then when he saw somebody who he wanted to be associated with, he jumped in with both feet. And we would tell people about Sporttrade, like random people would walk up to us and be like, are you in New Jersey? He's like, yeah, I'm in New Jersey. I'm in Philly or Jersey. He's like, you got to use Sporttrade. You got to download them. You got to check them out, see what they're doing. Like he was a huge advocate. He believed in your business model so much.
Yeah, it means so much because he's been in the industry so much longer than me by a huge multiple. I remember the first time I spoke with him is in like this, I want to say the spring-ish of 2019.
Okay.
And he introduced, I think he had taken a 1-year stint, ended up being a little bit less than that, at Delaware North, I believe, in somewhere in West Virginia.
Wheeling, West Virginia.
Wheeling, West Virginia. Okay.
Yep. He wanted to be a sportsbook director. He wanted to run it. So they hired him and they moved. The girls and Jess stayed here. And so he went out there, and then he knew within about 6 months of being out there that, nope, this isn't going to work. I'm going back to Vegas.
Maybe not to be Charlataire, but for those that really know, and the prior guest, Jeff, you just had on, knows better than anybody, the things that Dave tried to do were so ludicrous to how they wanted to operate the business. Like he really wanted to have a fair book. He wanted to have lower juice lines. He wanted to have no delay in play betting. A lot of the things that we tried to do. And so I think in a lot of ways, he knew the business we were trying to operate because he's done it before. And he's seen what can happen when you don't have like total alignment from the management and the ownership of what you want to do. And so, yeah, I remember it was, I guess, April of 24. He's walking down the street. He's got the Globetrotters blue hat, if you remember that one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, I'm here for like the WWE thing. Yep. And I think he had like met up with like Pat McAfee that week. And I'm like, oh my God. Yep. And so he's like, I just came from the Mitchell & Ness store. So he had this bag, and I should have looked in it. I mean, he probably had, who knows, maybe he had one of these things. And that's when the Whale Watch Wednesday idea started. And interestingly, one of the principals at one of our bigger market makers was inside Black Sheep, because this is like a Friday afternoon, Friday evening sort of thing. And he walked out, and so he joined the conversation. We ended up talking for probably about 30 to 40 minutes, and before we ultimately parted ways. But that was the beginning. And then sometime that year is when we started doing the show with you guys, which is probably the most successful thing we've done on a marketing basis, given we're such a small company. And now I see Prime's doing it, which is great. Bet Chris just sponsored a show this week that I was watching, which is great. So yeah, just such when Jeremy texted me from SportsGrid on Sunday morning, and that just like I haven't been the same since.
Yeah,
I was, and of course, sports is always intertwined with him and me in our relationship. And I was at the Eagles tailgate, and David, who's our COO, he looked like I'm pale already. And so when someone tells you that that they think that you look that you've seen like a ghost, that you look like you've seen a ghost, it means something's really wrong. And so I told David, and he couldn't believe it. And it was just like everything came back. And the thing I want to share with the group is I had gotten to see Dave probably 6 or 7 times in person, because it's tough. Him and I were never in the same area. So when we got to see each other in Philly, it was awesome. But when I would go out for a G2E or a Bet Bash, we would always see each other. And by the end of our relationship here on this earth, we were setting those things up. A lot of it was through SportsGrid and through you and meeting and having that. We had that dinner at the sushi place at Circa. I think it's 8 East or whatever it's called. That was really good.
Dave's favorite place in Circa. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And so, but before that, I would just run into him, and he would be rolling with this huge posse. Like, you would see him come and you're like, oh, that guy's like the coolest guy. And I remember the first couple times I was always thinking, does he remember me? And we would walk up, and he made me feel like I was the center of the universe. That is a skill set that's so inspiring to me. Like, that's the type of person I want to be. So charismatic that they make you feel like you're so important, that whatever you have to say, they're living and breathing on every word, even though he's already with 6 or 7 people he's already made feel that way. And that, like, we need way more of that in this world right now. And that's just like so inspiring to me. And I know other people had reached out to me. I put out a tweet where I said that. Other people reach out to me like, dude, I felt the same way. Like, I thought I was cool. Maybe I wasn't so cool if he's treating everybody this way, but that's the point, right?
Yeah, right.
He would say, "Oh, I'm going to dinner here, but let's meet up after. You want to meet at the book?" Like, and I'm just thinking, like, wow. As someone that I'm not really somebody in the industry, to be taught to be treated like that is so inspiring, and that's the way I want to live my life, and that's what I'm going to take with me. That's who I'm going to remember. Someone that was larger than life, but that can always take a moment and open you up and have a relationship with you where you really felt like you were important. And I think that's rocked me, and I don't think I've been the same since hearing Sunday morning that he had passed. So it's but I'm going to try to remember the great things about him.
For you guys who are live, don't move. More with Alex Kane. If you're watching on SportsGrid, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We're back on Monday, same place, same time. For you guys who are with us live on YouTube, or if you SportsGrid folks want to come over to our YouTube channel at Boston versus the Book, bonus time now. So just to pick up on that, the Patriots played the Steelers on Sunday. I found out at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. So it was 2 a.m. Eastern time. And I just thought, this is just cruel. Like, the universe, Steelers are playing against the Patriots. And this is Dave's team against my team. On the next morning that I wake up, and I thought the text message that I had gotten from Jessica was, I just, I don't even know. My daughter was really scared. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to admit it, that I fell to the ground. And I am obviously in a sling, and I'm not supposed to fall to the ground. Post-surgery, and I read the text message, dropped my phone, fell to the ground, and just started sobbing. And my daughter's 11, and she ran in, and she was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? What's going on? Should I call 911?" And I was like, no, hold on. I was like, "Sorry, Maddie." I was like, "You weren't supposed to see this. I apologize." I had to like talk my daughter off the ledge. So I can relate to the feeling you're having about like just the wait, what just happened? Like how, and it really, it's a surreal thing, because, I I've had so many conversations with people, and so many more people want to have conversations with me because they want to share their experience with Dave, and they want to talk to me about Dave. And like, I want to have that talk with them, and I want to let them talk, but like, I feel like it's hard for me because I'm having the same conversation, and it's really hard. It's like someone's sticking a pointer finger into a wound, like over and over again when they're telling these stories. And I'm like, I have all the same stories, and I have all the same feelings that you're having, and just it's amplified because my life just got incredibly lonely. And a guy that took up so much of our, not just professional time. I mean, if we weren't doing things professionally, we were doing things personally. Like, so I had two relationships with Dave. I had a professional relationship and a co-hosting relationship, and clearly he hasn't been here for 3 months. And now I mean, I had a personal relationship, obviously, that's our daughters played together, and every Saturday we did the proxy service together. So he just had such an incredible amount of respect for you. I mean, you and your entire operation. And he used to always say about there's so few people in the industry that actually believe what they're doing and believe in what they're doing. And that was you guys. And he's like, we need Sporttrade to succeed. We need companies like this to exist because there's far too many companies that are doing this for a marketing spin, for an email list. They don't really want to book the games. They don't really want to be a bookmaker. And we find this company that comes along, and we got to find ways to help them, like whatever we can do to help Sporttrade stay alive. So I just want to go ahead and reiterate that to you. Whatever we can do to help, whatever we can do, I can do. I'm gonna get upset. I can't stop saying the word we, and it's fucking pissing me off because I can't say the word I when it comes to this show. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
On your hat. We is on your hat.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't fit, like to say I, but whatever I can do to help Sporttrade with our brigade, in the memory of Dave, please know the door is always open.
Means so much to me, and I think you did such an incredible job trying to put your feelings into a tweet where and what stuck out to me is you said that he would celebrate your wins, but he would make you laugh about your bad beats. And so G2E last year, I decided to have pizza with him and the Venetian in that little area where you look like it's up the fake sky or whatever.
Yep.
And we're sitting down, we're watching the Phillies or my team and the Mets. And I'm betting on the Phillies, and it's the divisional round. And Dave tells me 7 innings in that he's on the Mets. At that point, I knew the Mets were going to win. And Brady from Rothrow came and joined us.
Yeah.
And Brady met up with him. And the Phillies lost, and I'm just like, there's not too many people I'd want to be around other than a guy like this who made me feel good about it, who made me laugh about it, who just figured, he's like, yo, bro, it's just sports. We're all good. Right?
Just sports.
And I think that those are the memories that are going to stick with me, is like someone that was so charismatic and larger than life, and obviously to tell the rest of your audience and to tell the brigade how much you were there for the guy behind the scenes and when things started to go the way they went. And obviously you have a lot of those details, and maybe you and I can talk one day, and I'd love to learn more, but that's not
sure
right now.
Yeah.
But that means that's going to stick out to me in terms of the person you are through this. Is I remember you coming up to me in Saginaw and walking me through how much you weren't talking about you were talking about him, but what came through to me is how much that relationship meant to you and how much you were willing to do and be selfless and donate your time to someone who was at a point in their life that you had the type of relationship that you could take this type of stuff he was saying to you because you knew the type of person he was. So it means a lot to me. And hopefully one day, I mean, Sporttrade's going through a lot of ups and downs right now. We're not really marketing the product, but if there's this federal opportunity for us and we're able to do that, like this is a marketing relationship we care a lot about. And it means even more now. And so anything I can do, please let me know. But just thank you for bringing me on and allowing me to share a story or two about Dave.
Thank you. And thank you for the friendship. I hope to see you soon, Alex. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. We'll talk down the line. All right.
Thank you, Matt.
That is Alex Kane from Sporttrade joining us here in the Bostonian versus the book. And we will wrap it with the first ever appearance. Butchie the bookie. Butchie, you got to unmute yourself. You're muted. You got to unmute it. From the brigade, from the chat to the program. Oh, have I heard stories about you? Good to meet you, my friend. Thank you for coming on.
So sorry I'm running late. I was doing my hair. And hey, in honor of our friend,
amen.
I'm putting the hat on.
Look at the LSU model.
I'm putting the listening glasses on. Ball 1, strike 2 from a boy named Sue.
How many years did you know Dave?
Oh, man. Actually met in Curacao, 90s. Rekindled. We had a mutual friend. They worked together at the M.
Wow.
Back in 2015, when we'll just say things changed in that geographical area. And when I went out to Vegas after COVID, we met. And the first day that we met, we spent about 4 hours together.
Sounds
naturally had to go see a guy about a thing at the book. Circa. Had to go to East 8, naturally.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
brisket fried rice.
From there, hours and hours and hours on the phone, texting, sending videos, sending clips, watch this, watch that. What do you think about this game? Just endless. Well, you heard what Jess said last night.
Yeah.
Couldn't meet a more honorable, personable, meet you the first time and just put you over the moon, top of the world. You were the most important guy to him, like you were his only friend.
No, I think he used to talk to me about you all the time. He used to relay conversations, and he had such, because of what you shared with him about your background and how you guys had operated in just the different world. Like there's the US side of things, obviously, that there's the betting that goes on in other parts of the world, or down south, as he would call you. He would say, call from down south. And that was you. Whenever he was referencing that, it was always something from you, and you guys just referencing different things. And, that there is such a cadence in which the life that you guys lived and what you guys can talk about that was so different than anything. It was for me, through the looking glass, like you guys lived a pretty cool life. You guys had some pretty cool experiences together.
We did. I'm still having them, and I'll have to cherish the memories. And when I'm done with this segment, I'm going to retire this hat and these listening glasses, and I'll have to get with your man Colvin and get a new hat. I'll get a different model. Maybe I'll get a yellow bill. This one's got a purple bill. We'll fix something up.
Oh yeah.
He knew that it had to be something for LSU. So,
well, let me ask you. You guys got a big game on Saturday tomorrow on the road against Ole Miss. How you feeling about your Tigers, undefeated, going into a big game with Lane Kiffin on the other side?
I hope it's a good ride home, not a bad ride. We'll leave it at that. I never.
Points? We going over? We going points?
It depends. Opening drive, how it starts. Also, who paid the most amount to the refs. It depends on what the Zebras played. Sad but true. I mean, it is what it is, I mean, look at the funk that came out about the Chiefs.
Right.
I mean, I had lots of people send me just absolutely horrible memes, with Mahomes in the ref's lap and the ref in Mahomes' lap. I mean, just horrible. Some people don't have anything better to do with their time, right?
True, but I mean, there's a lot of anger. I think fans are obviously very frustrated. No one gets more frustrated than SEC fans, and the level. I used to think it was so fun because Dave had Big Ten ties, obviously, and had Big Ten roots and knew about Ohio State and knew about Michigan. But I spent, the 5 years I spent covering the SEC and going to places like LSU and Alabama and Ole Miss and, learning all about that as a 20-something-year-old from Boston who had no idea what it meant to be an SEC football fan and going to that level of experience and seeing on the ground the passion and the interest. I used to just tell Dave stories. He used to just sit there and love to hear about the stories because it was so different. And we'd argue about Big Ten fandom or SEC fandom. And we went to the SEC tournament. He was always like, oh, it just means more. Oh, yeah. It just means more to you guys. And he just always, because I'm an SEC homer now, because I saw it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like it's different. Like the games, the passion, the interest, it's a different experience to be in the South. And I love that time. And I love the fact that we were able to talk about that on the show the way we did, because I think it brought in a lot of people in the South who were like, okay, the guy's a Northerner, but at least he knows what it means to go to a game at the Grove.
Right.
I can experience. I've seen it. I've seen the chandeliers hanging from the tailgates. You'd be like, "What do you mean?" I go, "They hang chandeliers from on the Grove. They have the tents and they have chandeliers."
Dude,
it's like, "What do you mean? Why do they do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, what does the rooster run around in South Carolina? Like who knows? It's just what the SEC does. It's different. It's just a different level of exposure and experience and passion, and I love it. I mean, the one thing we never did that I will always be seriously sick about is that him and I never went to an SEC football game together, because I think he would have loved it. I think he would have been absolutely head over heels over it.
Yep.
To see it.
I would have loved to have gone with you two guys to Death Valley for LSU to play anybody.
Night game, LSU. First time I ever was there, I was in the photographer's deck because they didn't have a seat for me in the press box. They're like, I could put you in the photographer's deck. I was like, sure. And I was in between the two levels, and I thought I was going to die. I thought the entire thing was going to collapse on my head because LSU fans were just jumping up and down during the fourth quarter for Bama LSU at night. It is one of the most special places in the country to see a sporting event. It is so fun there.
You can look this up on St. Google.
Okay.
They actually do seismograph for the stadium. It's nuts.
I believe it. I felt it.
And if you haven't been,
you don't know.
Just go one time. Just go one time.
Well, I've told my friends in the Big Ten all the time, because I covered, obviously, Iowa State, and Nebraska really closely, and Virginia as well. And so going to those games, Nebraska fans would always tell me about, this is the greatest football stadium in college football. And I would say, you're kidding, right? And they would say, no one has better fans. We are the best fans in college football. And I would say, you're kidding, right? And they'd get really mad at me. They'd be like, what are you talking about? I was like, guys, I know it's Nebraska. I know you won championships in the 90s. I know you guys think it's great, but what are you talking about? The SEC is so much better than this. And they're like, no, it is not. I'm like, I can name 3 stadiums off the top of my head right now that have better atmospheres than Nebraska. I'm sorry. Harder places to play than Memorial Stadium for Nebraska. And they just couldn't get it into their heads that actually was a reality. And it was, it's just respect that you have to have when you go down there and see it. You'd be like, oh, this is different. This is not the same when they're going crazy at 6:00 in the morning for a game that will kick off at 7:30 at night.
Oh,
the tailgates are open and rolling. So, I'm sorry I've never met you in person, but I hope I get to do so at some point in the very near future, because Dave absolutely had nothing but glowing things to say about you, and had nothing but tremendous respect for you, and loved talking with you, and loved when you were in the chat. He loved. And I know the doctor's parlay people were so bummed but I know you have connected with the doctor. If the doctor's parlay wants to keep going, I'm sure the brigade would take it. They would love to see it if possible, if he wants to keep it going.
I'll send a message to him. We're close. We're close. Going back to the SEC real quick, closing note on that. Those people, they'll cut off a body part to win the game. Not cover the spread, just win the game. Yep. LSU, they start the day before tailgating. It's nuts.
Oh, we'd roll up. I mean, I took an SUV. I took an RV to every game, so we would go in Friday night and we would see it. And I mean, I've had some of the most. I've partied in $2 million RVs in Arkansas. I had an RV die in Baton Rouge. It literally died. We had to get it towed back to Huntsville from Baton Rouge. It wasn't mine. I mean, we had an RV sponsorship with a RV company, so it was their RV, but it died, and we had to rent a car and drive back to Baton Rouge, drive back for 7-8 hours to Huntsville, leaving the RV there. I mean, I had just crazy experiences all over the SEC. And one of my friends got into a fight in Athens. He's a big Alabama fan in downtown Athens after Bama lost to Georgia, got into a fist fight with a couple of Georgia fans. And yeah, I had a ball. I loved it. I loved every damn second of it. If I could go back and tell myself in my 20s, it's the one thing that I didn't fully appreciate as much as I should have when I was down there, because it was the time of my life. I love those 5 football seasons. Doing that every year was so fun.
Cherish the memories, my friend.
Amen to that.
Cherish the memories.
Amen. Keep in touch, okay, Butchie? Keep in touch with us. Keep going. If you want to pop back on, now that you know how to do this, you can pop back on and jump in. I mean, Dave would love to know that you were part of the show and kept on with us. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing both last night and tonight. Thank you for sharing your memories of Dave.
Careful what you ask for. I got your number.
Come on in. We're okay. We're all good.
Take care.
Come on in.
Nice to meet you.
You too, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
That is the one and only Butchie the Bookie joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Great to get him on the program. All right, guys, that flew. And that went as well as I hoped it would go. So that's really cool that we were able to get everybody in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that on this. And I think that there's, again, right here, that's the QR code for the family. Next week, we're going to try to get back into a normal schedule. And next week, we're going to try. I mean, Dave will always be with us, and we will reference Dave a ton, but we won't do shows like this. Obviously, Monday and Friday, we spent the entire shows talking about Dave. I could probably spend every day talking about Dave, but we do have to get back to some semblance of doing sports gambling content, and Dave would want us to get going with that. But we'll take the weekend. We'll kind of get my feet back underneath me, and then come back on Monday with a full recap and get back to doing sports talk and get back to doing whatever we can do. Again, just to kind of reiterate, I'm going to find a way this weekend to post last night's Discord chat. If you missed it with Jessica and the girls, it was amazing. So that was, I'll post that and get that up. And Eric, I see you, bud. Good to see you in the chat. Dave meeting you and Dave having the influence on you was incredible. That was wild. I mean, you go from my classroom at UNLV, taking to the point where we're now together. You and I, the first person I called after I found out the news about Dave was Eric. And because I was like, what are we going to do? We got to build something for the show for Monday, and we need to have something. And Eric did an incredible job. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch Monday. I thought about playing that again, but that was hard to watch. And I don't think I can take watching it right now. I haven't, when Alex asked me how am I doing, I haven't watched anything with Dave and I don't know when I will be able to do that. I think in the future, but I don't know right now. I don't know when I'm going to be able to go. And Jessica said it last night on the hours and hours and hours of video of Dave to watch. And I think that's great in like a year. But right now, having all of that video of Dave and I together feels really heavy and feels really hard for me. And I have a relationship with somebody extremely special to me who lives very far away. And I have a daughter who I only see half the time. So, when you're in a situation like me, like I'm in right now, Dave was so much of my support system. And when he got sick, I think there was this overwhelming feeling of, okay, we have to get you better. And like, there's not even like a question. Like I never thought that we would be here. Like I would speculate it. I would speculate on the idea that what would happen if, but you never really like think about like actual, like, come on, it's actually going to happen. No, it's not. It's not actually going to happen. It's not actually going to die. There's no way. And so I think the reality of it and the gravity of it has not landed with me yet. And I don't know how the funeral is going to go for me. I don't know how the services are going to go for me. I will say this. I am happy that it's not tomorrow. I'm glad that we have another week to kind of process those emotions before I have to go and talk to people and be asked face to face, because my phone is still filled up with DMs and text messages from people that either want to talk or pass along condolences and talk about Dave. And I am, working my way through all those responses from people, but it's harder when they're in your face, like when they're right in front of you and they want to have the talk and they want to, tell stories and whatnot. It's a lot harder to kind of go like, I don't want to talk about this right now. Like, I'm not one to run, I'm a fighter by nature. I'm someone who wants to confront almost everything. Like when there's a problem, I don't like letting problems linger. Like I like to talk immediately. Like I want to get it out of the way, move on, and get out of the way. Like that's what I want. And so it's harder for me when I don't want to deal with something. Like my daughter knows this. Like when daddy is quiet, get away from daddy. And I've been pretty quiet off air and, just trying to process what happens, like what happens next, because we had such huge plans and we were doing it together. It was going to be the two of us. Like this was our, our families, Dave and I, the girls, Jessica, Madeline, Amanda, Brooks, like all these people that were, in our immediate family. We were all this show, this thing that I don't think many people understand, what it's like. The roller coaster ride to run a business with your friend and your co-host and your families. And we ran multiple businesses. I mean, the Brigade Proxy Service, the BVB, convincing people to be a part of it, convincing people to want to be a part of it and to support the show. And, the people that did support the show, Circa, came from Dave. Bet Chris, Arizona, came from Dave. There were other sponsors that I brought to the table, other people that I worked with over the years and did stuff with. And I was the one running most of the marketing side of things from a sponsorship standpoint. But, did Dave and I, the calls that we went on, we would be on so many calls together. We'd be on so many different things. And we watched the industry grow and shrink and the wave crash. And I am thankful that Dave got a chance to see it. He saw legalized sports gambling in America. It's huge. He saw that. He's the dream of him being down in Curacao thinking one day legalized sports gambling might come to America. Well, Dave saw that and Dave shepherded that through, and Dave became one of the leading premier voices in the space that when people wanted to go and have conversations, when somebody was writing an article about the legalization of sports gambling or the way the business got run, Dave was the quote. Look how many stories Dave was quoted on. It was incredible. I mean, he, as I said numerous times this week, not only was he one of one, but he was a unicorn in how he was able to be as entertaining as any major market host can be, any national TV personality. But he was armed with the information on how sports gambling was being run and how a game got booked and why a number went to where the number went. And he was so willing to pass along that knowledge to people like me or any young person that was interested, that I was able to just learn so much. And the fact that I can't ask him anymore sucks. Just absolutely from a personal, selfish standpoint, sucks. $10:30 phone call like I would get, and he'd say, "What are you betting on the juice?" And I would say, "I'm doing da 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 da." You go, hold on. But here's why I wouldn't do that. And then we would talk out bets. I wish we taped. The only thing we never taped together, we taped almost everything. The only thing professionally I wish we had taped was when him and I did football pick contests, because you guys would have laughed your asses off at the level of arguing that we would to get into for picks. It was so funny. I would throw stat, I would throw trend, I would throw this, and he would say, "That's all fine. You can take that. It doesn't matter because the number's this. And I'm telling you the number's this because the number's going to go to this because this is what's going to happen. Here is how this is going to go. So you can stand on a table all you want and tell me this is it. But I'm telling you right now, the reason why they put the number at this is because the right side is that." I would say, "But wait, what about dot, dot, dot?" And he'd say, "I don't care. I'm just telling you, this is what the number is. You can do it if you want, but it's a dumb idea." Like we would just, to get 5 picks for the football contest before we did the proxy service was hysterical. Like it would take us 3 hours to get to 5 picks because we'd just be arguing and arguing and arguing. And we finally get to 5 picks and we would go ahead and bet. And then that one year we finished 1 game out, 1 point out of the money. That one year we finished 1 point out. And it was because of one play in one game that was a stupid play involving the Steelers. And I can't remember what happened, but it cost us because it was like the dumbest thing in the world. That if this one play didn't happen, the Steelers would have won and we would have cashed in the Westgate. And we didn't. So it was fun. It was really fun. Guys, again, if you haven't donated, QR code, top right-hand corner, please, for the family. I would hope that if you can do it, please do so. Thank you. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, to Chris Andrews, Joe Brennan, Alex Kane, Jeffrey Benson, Butchie the Bookie, for our roundtable, Bookmaker Roundtable, remembering Dave Sharapan. This show was extremely special to me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well, to remember our dear friend Dave Sharapan. Guys, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Have a phenomenal weekend. We are back on Monday. Like I mentioned, we're going to try to get back to some level of normalcy on Monday, recapping football. But 2 Monday night football games to come on Monday. We'll break them all down on Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, live here on the Betting Pros, on the Bostonian versus the Book. Forget what show I'm doing. Bostonian versus the Book YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. Be a part of the brigade if you guys can in the coming forward in the future. Looking forward to it. Talk to you.